Before we jump into today's podcast, one of our front stretch sponsors, My Place Hotels, is getting in on the action at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and so can you. They're offering 2 free tickets to the Brickyard 400 at the end of the month and a 2-night stay at a My Place Hotel. Entering the contest is easy. Just call 1-855-200-5685, sign up for My Place's free stay rewarded loyalty program, and say Front Stretch sent you. Make My Place Hotels your place to stay for a free Brickyard 400 experience. That's 1-855-200-5685. Sign up for their rewards program and say Front Stretch sent you.
It's time for Bringing the Heat with Trey Lyle.
Welcome back to Bringing the Heat with Trey Lyle. I know we've had a couple change-ups at host this year. Now, I am not taking over for full-time for Trey Lyle, but he is also. I'm filling in for him this week. My name's Caleb Barnes, and ready to host this week's version of Bringing the Heat post-over. And this week, joined by Trenton Worsham, who is at the racetrack, and he's got a little Miles the Monster on his shoulder. And he was able to get our interview for this week. He talked to Ty Dillon about the in-season challenge, and of course, Ty is moving on. We got a battle of the Ties coming up in Indianapolis, so let's get to that interview.
Now it's time for...
Hey, breaking news, Ty Dillon gets the free pass here.
Oh, that's huge.
On the lead lap, Nemechek remains a lap down. That means we don't know how this is going to play out. We can get another caution.
I will tell you this, though.
It'll be Ty Gibbs and Ty Dillon going head-to-head next weekend at Indianapolis for $1 million.
We don't quit, man. We don't quit.
Dillon, great work.
Man, God is good all the time. That is cool. That worked out just right. Man, that's cool.
To go into the inferno with Trey.
Trent here with FrontStretch.com with Ty Dillon, the man of the month, I guess, with the in-season challenge, man. Let's start a little beginning by talking about your career. You've had a rougher path to get to this with college racing than a lot of drivers may have in Cup Series. So what's this journey been like to get with this team and up to 2025?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's ideally what I laid out when I was starting racing. I was going through the Truck Series and Xfinity Series and winning races and battling for championships. I thought the Cup career would be exactly the same. It just hasn't been that way. It's been up and down, been in and out of the sport with many different teams, a couple different manufacturers, but I wouldn't change my journey for anything. It's developed me into who I am as a driver, as a husband, as a father, and as a person, and it's given me so much perspective and gratitude for the situation I'm in now at college racing, and this has been the best year probably of my Cup career as far as just running up front, running strong. Our points position doesn't really show how strong we've really been. So we're hoping the second half of the year kind of shows a little bit more of that. But it's been a really solid year for us and just been really grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, some have said you've overachieved what the expectations were for your team in this car this year. So you feel like you've done that? You've ran better than maybe what you anticipated?
Yeah, so far, but I think expectations are adjustable always, so we're always trying to grow and get better, and we want to finish this year stronger than what we started. We've done some good stuff, but we see opportunity where we can be even better, and that's the focus for our race team going forward, is just continue to roll off this momentum that we've gotten from the in-season challenge. No matter what happens in it, we've gained a lot of momentum. Our last 3 finishes have been really solid, so we're just going to go from there and finish out this year strong and hopefully continue to build.
Yeah, with the in-season challenge, when did you know that you might have had a serious chance to make it all the way? Because you went viral with the Denny Hamlin comment at Atlanta and stuff, but then you just kept moving on and everything. Yeah. So when did you know, hey, we might actually be able to fight this out?
You just never know. I felt very confident going into Atlanta for some reason. It didn't make any sense, but it's not a track that I had ran well at, but I knew that it was an opportunity, a track for opportunity, and it turned out we ran really strong. I think we were going to put pressure on Denny no matter what, and we come out of there with a win, and then it kind of told us, anything's possible from here on out and how we go about this. So, each week I haven't really made it about beating the other car. It's about having a good finish, and I think our whole team's been focused on that. We all know the objective. We want to beat that other guy in the bracket, but we're strong believers in if we execute our day and do our things the right way, we're going to end up putting pressure on those guys and give ourselves a chance to beat them. And even like last week, I think we kind of picked an opposite strategy of what you would think to beat the 48 straight up. And the race kind of came to us, and he fell back into kind of our trap, and we were coming forward at the right time, and we were able to take advantage of the opportunity, and that's what sports are about. When the opportunity presents itself to capitalize, can you get it done or not? And our team's been able to do that week in and week out. So we'll just have the same approach here in Dover and hopefully knock it down the road.
So this has also elevated, visibility for sponsors, which is a key. So what's that relationship been like with the sponsors, getting more visibility because of this in-season challenge and you sort of having these nice one-liners and stuff at the end of these races?
I imagine it's been good. I know my social media platforms have been kind of blowing up for sure, but if it wasn't for Seabest and if it wasn't for Grizzly Nicotine Pouches, so much of what's going on wouldn't happen. First of all, we probably wouldn't even be racing this year without them. But second of all, their brands line up so much with my personality and the people behind the brands as well too. They are the same people that I am, so it allows me to feel comfortable being me in interviews and having fun with this in-season challenge. And good sponsors like that support you and you feel like you're linked together on so many different levels allows so much confidence to grow and to be yourself out there and know that you can be yourself on and off the racetrack because the brands that support you and the race team in college racing, there's nothing better you can ask for.
And one last one. You said that you're, just fighting for position, not necessarily preparing to race for, the in challenge. But if you were to get to the final two for Indianapolis, that $1 million is right there. What kind of work in the shop is going to be prepared for that? Because that would be a life-changing amount, not only for you, but for this team as well.
I mean, absolutely. You'd like to think, I think in a perfect world, it sounds like, if we had just a little more extra focus, but our people at College Racing, they get every single thing they have every week, to every race car that we drive. So we won't change who we are. Our identity and who we've been throughout the season has gotten us this far. If we make it through this round, we'll be who we are. We'll go to Indy, a place that I've won at in the past, and go give them hell for one last round.
And that was awesome to hear from Ty Dillon, especially with him continuing on in the in-season tournament, the in-season challenge. This week, again, joined by Trenton Worsham, coming off of that week at Dover. And we've got a couple pretty big topics to talk about this week. I do want to ask real quick, though, after that interview, Trenton, are you riding with Ty Dillon or Ty Gibbs this weekend in Indianapolis?
You got to ride with Ty Dillon. I'm part of the happy hour crew now doing the producing. I was not in last night. Wyatt Watson was, but I did listen to it back on my way back from Charlotte last night doing the summer shootout. And NASCAR Chasm was their guest, and he has a shirt and he has dubbed Ty Dillon the Dillionaire. So, so we are.
I love that.
I guess we are all in on Ty Dillon winning this thing because he's not been the favorite since week one. He hasn't been the favorite any week. Last week, it almost looked like John Hunter was going to get him, but he got his lap back on that late caution, and here we are. And his only Xfinity Series win is at the Brickyard. So,
Trenton, my bold prediction is that
ride with
Ty
him.
is going to win this weekend, the in-season
Which
challenge.
Which Ty?
I think Ty is going to win. That's
Which
just
one?
That's a fact. Like you can't tell me otherwise. Ty is going to win. I'll tell you the other one. I'll fill in the blank after the race. How about that?
What's still hot? It's time to upgrade you on the latest news in NASCAR.
Big news coming out midweek about the sort of street race location for 2026, if you can even call it that, because it's maybe on streets, but maybe not. It's in Coronado, just outside of San Diego. That was the rumors that we were hearing, and this race is moving to San Diego next year and to the naval base there, which, I mean, seems really cool. There was a just awesome video that NASCAR put out earlier today.
Oh my God, that was great.
That was, yeah. I know we can talk about that too here in a second, but Trenton, I know that's been the rumors and everything about San Diego, and then Coronado kind of came out a little bit later. But what was your initial reaction whenever you saw that news break today?
We all knew like San Diego was pretty much going to be the spot, just where in San Diego was the thing. And I'm on the fence with it, honestly. I love the Chicago street course with the backdrop of, the lakes, the skyscrapers, like driving down roads that are usually traffic jammed during the week for people going to work and everything. And they can take that corner and see tire skid marks from the driver from like 24 hours before being on that same road. But so I was hoping San Diego would be more of a downtown kind of thing, maybe going around one of the football stadiums or something. Football stadiums, because like the Chargers are in LA. They have been for a while now, but I keep thinking San Diego. But you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, there's so many places where they could race downtown San Diego. So I was a little kind of put off a little bit with it, with location wise, but the video they did was fantastic. It got me excited. It's going to be fun. It was, if you've watched it, you've heard them say, you know, where's SVG at? Why can't we get SVG here? So that's going to be a storyline in itself leading up to it, especially coming within May, early June of next year when the race starts creeping up, is who are the favorites, you know? But yeah, I think it's going to be fun. We haven't seen the final layout yet. I know a lot of fans are confused with the video showing the layout, but that is not the official one. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting. I think it'd be really cool to have like aircraft carriers with grandstands around the island, you know, for people to watch. So kind of like a VIP thing could be, oh, you got the grandstands on the aircraft carrier, you know, in the water, so you can like have a different angle of the track and the ship can move around. So there's a lot of cool stuff they could do with it. I was just hoping for the scenery, like where the actual location was going to be more like within San Diego.
You mentioned a lot of great things there, and thanks for mentioning too that the video or the layout in the video is not the official layout. I think that's an important thing to note. Although I paused it, I was like analyzing every detail, like we do. And I didn't think it looked like a bad layout, so I'll throw my 2 cents in there. But of course, they're working with iRacing, kind of trying to do those things, and I'm along the same lines. I'm not sure what the visuals, the aesthetic will look like, because on one hand, like, that was a really neat part about Chicago, was just the skyscrapers in the background.
Yeah.
Not being in the heart of like a city necessarily, like a downtown area. I know California still has plenty of views and scenery and everything, but I'm wondering like how much it'll be, especially if it is on like that airstrip part where it's really flat. And then like, I think it could be really cool if they almost like, you're talking about the aircraft carriers, and then like if they do race on parts of like an airplane strip, if they like stage planes along or something like that. Just this,
they did say that. I think one of the official things is there will be, I guess, helicopters or planes like staged like cool on the base, and so like the cars will be going around. I forgot where I saw that, but I saw that mentioned today as being a thing. But our stat guy and one of our editors, Steven Stump, a lot of you guys listening know who that is. He also shared, you know, in our Slack channel, like kind of where the base is and where downtown is. And so the skyline should be a backdrop. So it's across the bridge, you're on the base. You're across the bridge, you're back in the city. So the scenery should be okay, but I was hoping for the track itself to be like
yeah. I did look, because whenever like the first rumors dropped about San Diego, I was trying to map it out and be like, what would be the cool? Because of course you want to like race along the water if possible, but then also through the city. But I will say the city streets were pretty kind of boring, like a basic city grid, because sometimes cities will have like different patterns and everything. But as far as that one, and then it is really cool because next year is NASCAR Patriotic Raw America. It's the 250th anniversary for the U.S. And so like that'll be kind of a cool patriotic tie-in. I'm not sure like how many years with the street course thing. Like I know a lot of people are starting to talk about wanting to see that event move around year to year or something like that. So I'm not sure how many years this thing would last. And then I'm just very interested to see the logistics side of it and how it is going to work getting fans there and kind of all that stuff. But seems like a really fun. The biggest surprise to me, I think, I believe it was a quote today from Ben Kennedy that they've actually been talking about and working on Coronado for quite a long time. Like, and that relationship has gone back a couple of years. And this is like, actually, he said he was surprised that they were able to keep it under wraps for so long, which maybe that's part of the military side of it, of like they're able
Dalton, how much did you know, Dalton Hopkins? How much did you know? Not in the Navy, but how much did you know?
You'll have to ask him on the happy hour next week whenever. Yeah. But so that I guess that's a pretty cool thing. And it'll also, they said we're just maybe a few weeks away from getting a schedule, which I feel like they always say that around this time in the summer, but who knows? We'll see.
And it's like mid-August.
Yes. Yeah. Well, our other topic to talk about, this came, I believe, on Monday, and NASCAR added some rules to the rule book, which I guess hypothetically would lock 2311 and front row cars into the field as open cars. Part of it says NASCAR at its sole discretion may elect to limit the number of entries for a race to 40. In such instances, open teams will be determined based on the team owner points standings. And then it goes further on to say up to 6 open teams will be eligible for starting grid positions based on the highest ranked team owner point standings. So, Trenton, you mentioned before we started that you saw this right before you hopped on a plane on your way back. Kind of like it's mid-season rule drops and changes like always kind of seem a little funky, and it's like we're changing the rules mid-season. Like people aren't big fans of that to begin with, but then this one especially has some extra, I guess, weight to it. What were your thoughts whenever you saw this news come out?
NASCAR is being very smart and trying to cover any arguments, I guess, that 2311 or front row could have about hindering their competitiveness as open cars or doing harm, because a lot of the arguments that we've heard is NASCAR is a monopoly, and therefore, if you don't play by the rules, there is harm involved, and these teams are suffering harm. Or that's the very Cliff Notes version of it, like little 3-sentence lines right there. That's way deeper than that, but that's kind of like what I've been hearing from it. And so I think NASCAR is trying to come. I mean, we're almost in August. And as Denny Hamlin said in his press conference at Dover, when someone was asking about being open teams, he said to come to the trial December 1st, all will be revealed. So I think NASCAR is trying to show that, look, these guys can run as open teams. They're competitive cars. They're high in owners points. They're going to be locked in no matter what. So I think it's more so them trying to cover their tails a little bit, so that can't be an argument against them.
Yeah, as someone who I've been helping out along with Samuel Stubbs every other week, we're writing these kind of lawsuit update articles. It was something you can kind of see it one of two ways. The first way, if you want to try to, I guess, ignore the surrounding circumstances, you could kind of be like, oh, well, maybe NASCAR is trying to offer an olive branch to these teams because in case the random off chance that Tyler Reddick blows a tire in qualifying at Talladega and misses the race. Because realistically, the chance of any of the open teams, the competitive open teams, missing a race is really low. But those teams are big enough, have a big enough presence, and have enough fans at the track that it would be a really big deal if they miss the race, just from the side of having the fans, of people coming to the track to watch drivers like Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace, or Noah Gragson, Zane Smith, Todd Gilliland, Riley Herbst. I think I got them all in there. So it would be a big deal if they missed the race, but then just like on one hand, you're like, oh, well, maybe they're just trying to offer the olive branch. But then at the same time, you've kind of seen the way that this thing has gone, and sliding this in there this late after everything that's taken place, and the team's trying to remake their case for an injunction. And even though that got denied, it does file that in the category of things that make you go, if that makes sense.
It's definitely not an olive branch. I know that the judges have wanted them to settle this between themselves outside of court. It's going to get messy. It's going to get expensive. And they're like, look, can you guys just work this out? So going into it, they've already been warned about that. So there's no olive branch being extended. It's making them be able to look good and assure those teams that they have a spot so they can't use it against them. I would be worried about front row. Obviously, 2311 has the Gibbs Alliance. They have fast cars. Riley Herbst, I mean, sometimes I question if he's in the same equipment because he's running like 35th, 36th, some races in a 2311 car. But, for Zane Smith, who's made some strides this year, Todd Gilliland, he kind of had some moments, but then it's kind of faded back some. I'm not saying those cars aren't going to ever, miss on speed, but I'd say FRM is probably going to suffer performance-wise, maybe more so than 2311 would with this.
Well, I saw some people too saying like, well, this basically makes charters irrelevant. Well, no, not necessarily.
I was thinking that today too. I was thinking that today too, actually, when I was thinking about this.
I would say the biggest part about charters and their relevance is that's the financial impact of it. And I think that's where it still is hurting the teams the most, even if they do, like, I guess they don't have, it's like one less leg to stand on of saying like, oh, we could potentially miss races. But at the same time, it's one less leg to stand on, but then the charters are so big financially. And
that's the key. Yeah.
It's just, I've been super curious, and I'm not like in an excited way, but I'm anticipating. I can't wait for December whenever everything happens, just to basically watch from the sidelines and see how it all goes down, because Denny and the team seem pretty confident that they've got an ace up their sleeves, but kind of feels like they've gotten beaten up the last couple weeks and months in court, and just seems like nothing's gone their way. So I'll be really curious to see what sort of cases that they're able to make, what the courts and everybody decides, especially with another quick little topic to mention in there. We talked about the in-season challenge and tournament and everything. I was surprised to find out that NASCAR announced that the money for that, the $1 million, it's not going to the driver, it's going to the teams. Is that something that felt, to me at least, like it was kind of out of left field?
Either the teams knew it going in and it wasn't, or they didn't, that could have been a thing where it was just known that was going to happen, but we didn't. I think it's kind of stings more that we know that now instead of when it started.
Yeah.
I'm sure the teams, they've had to have known that was the case. But yeah, it's very rare NASCAR gives one driver just a check for $1 million. Like, good job, buddy. Here you go. I don't even think they do that for the All-Star race. I think that, that goes to the teams too, or split up the teams, because, at the end of the day, it's a colleague racing effort. Should Ty Dillon win this? I mean, yeah, Ty Gibbs' team is good and they're helping him, but he's naturally in Joe Gibbs' equipment, so he's naturally going to have the edge. But so to fight to win this, I don't think is as intense. They're fighting to win races, but for the season challenge, I don't think that team's really fighting for this. Where Ty Dillon, this is his championship. This is his Super Bowl right here. This is his All-Star race. So I think for colleague racing and Ty Dillon, they're putting everything into it. And so it's more of a team effort, I feel, on that side. So it makes sense to split it up, but I wish they would give the driver his own $1 million and then give, the teams, each pit crew guy, maybe an extra 50,000 or, something like that. Like give them their rewards, individual accolades as well, instead of, kind of like the driver gets $1 million and then just kidding.
Yeah. Because the TNT crew, they're asking Ty Dillon, like, what would you do with $1 million? And he was talking about kind of joking, like, help, like he'll put it in his savings account or put it towards kids' college fund or stuff like that. And then
can I say something about that?
Yeah.
I've heard someone asked Tyler Reddick that on Saturday, and I think it was him and his media availability. What would you do with $1 million? And he's like, oof, that would be amazing to have that and be able to. And I'm thinking in my head, these drivers, do they not sign multi-million-dollar contracts?
Yeah.
So why?
I do think about that too.
Why are we asking now? Ty Dillon may be different, obviously, but why would you ask someone like Reddick or Byron or a driver like that, if you won this All-Star race, if you won this $1 million, what would you do with it? That's a lot of money. And they're sitting there with like 20 million just in their savings account or something,
Yeah, especially since $1 million isn't what it used to be. We talk about every year with the All-Star race, but and then again, maybe like you mentioned the All-Star race, maybe it is basic like prior or what's it called? Basic processes that the money just automatically goes to the teams and gets divvied up from there. That's something that I don't know necessarily. Just that clarity and clarification was kind of like, wait a second, like I thought, but hey, maybe that's just the way everything goes, and we all just learned a new thing about purse money and stuff this week. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, let's steer this thing now into our soundbite of the week segment that comes from Chase Briscoe from a great interview done by the man sitting next to me virtually on the screen.
Well, Tony, what angered you at the end of the race? What did you take issue with?
What the hell do you think I was mad about? Dumb little runs us clear down to the infield. He wants to about everybody else, and he's the one that drives like a little I'm going to bust his ass.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
And short track races.
It's time for the sound bites of the week.
Did the car actually have a lot of speed to stay up there?
I mean, we were a good car. You know, we weren't the best car by any means. We weren't even a second place car. We realistically probably should have finished 5th to 10th. And even if I felt like if we started mid-pack towards back, we were still probably going to run 5th to 10th. That's just kind of the speed we had. We just lacked 5% of what we needed to be the best car. So just could never quite get there for whatever reason. But fortunately, we were able to kind of make something out of it there at the end. And just wish we could have been on the other end of it.
Was there anything you could have done to Denny outside of obviously wrecking him? Was there anything that you could have done differently?
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't a teammate, I definitely could have been a little more aggressive, just like into 3 and put him in a really, really bad aero situation. But the odds of one of us wrecking were pretty high, and I want to make sure JGR car at least won the race. It would have not been a good Monday morning meeting if I go in there and do something and wreck us both and somebody else wins. So yeah, I was trying to be smart about it, but obviously just going for the win too. I just needed to have the back of the Camry be about 3 or 4 inches shorter. I felt like if I could have, I was all but clear, just couldn't quite do it.
Well, Trenton, we saw 3, I guess, JGR cars up front battling for the win there at the end of the race at Dover. One won the race, one wrecked, and then one finished second. And I know I mentioned the wreck, but do you feel that this year these finishes, at least on the Cup side of things in the next gen, have maybe been a little bit cleaner than what we've kind of been accustomed to seeing in past years just across some of the top divisions in NASCAR?
If your name's not Carson Hocevar, yeah.
True. I didn't think about that.
I had to put that in there. No, another topic, another time, I don't mind Carson at all and his aggressiveness. You just had to put that joke in there. But I don't know. Trying to think of a season where we really had, other than Ross Chastain's, 2022 season, 2023, whatever year it was, he made it to I think it's 2022 where he made it to the Final Four. He was the guy wrecking everybody, being overtly aggressive. Then you had some where I think it's more so when you have guys like Denny and Larson, I think it's more so drivers putting the other person in uncomfortable positions. Everybody, like, people get mad at Denny for riding Larson up the wall. Well, Larson has a choice to stay in the gas or lift. Denny's not wrecking him. He's putting it in Larson's hands to do that. And so in terms of like just wrecking people, this season so far is automatically better because Austin Dillon hasn't ping-ponged 2 drivers for a win.
That's the one I was thinking about.
You have your anomalies like that. But yeah, I haven't seen anybody just flat out being aggressive and just knocking a guy out of the way and for a win or anything.
What about
we like Coda was the example that everyone should follow right there. You know what I mean? Like one took, and then you had what was it, Chicago? Well, SVG, they had like no, not Chicago, Sonoma. They had 4 restarts with, funny enough, Chase Briscoe right there beside him. And Chase Briscoe at any moment could have punted him out of the way, rode him up into the sand and taken it, but he didn't. And so, yeah, we're these guys, I guess, to an extent, are putting on, how it should be done. But I don't think it's really ever been as terrible in the Cup Series. Now, Xfinity's gotten a little bit more brutal. It used to be the trucks, but now it's Xfinity that's getting the brunt of, bad driving habits, more frequently now. But I think it was for a while we had 12 races without a green, white checkered or something for a while there. I know it was a long stretch. And so, yeah, I don't know. I can't really say yes or no, but I want to say yes. I'm just not seeing a lot of guys just cleaning each other out on the Cup side.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask, and you kind of answered the question already before I asked it, but I was gonna ask, do you think if it was a non-teammate, if Briscoe would have raced any harder? But then you mentioned the example last week at Sonoma with Briscoe racing SVG, although Shane's also in a completely different category on road courses anyways. But it's been kind of nice. Coda was the other race I was thinking about, where years past, especially last year, these late race restarts turned into ping pong and guys just driving through one another because these cars are so durable. They're like, oh, well, I can just hit 5 people out of the way and it doesn't really matter. anytime that there was like a late race restart. But this year, a lot of the, like, we still, there's a little bit of that at Dover, but it was more Christopher Bell making a mistake and spinning out, and just guys not getting checked up in time, like, and not so much of Denny Hamlin wrecking Bell or anything like that. Although Denny did mention on his podcast that if Chase had tried to, I think he said something along the lines of like Chase tried to clear him, like he was flat out, he wasn't gonna just like give the spot or whatever. Said basically, it felt like to me he was saying like, I would have wrecked this both, but I'm glad Chase didn't. But
Christopher Bell said too, because I talked to him after the race, and he was on edge going for it too, and he wasn't going to wreck Denny, but it came to be said, like Denny said in his press conference before they went back green, him and Bell were on pit road walking back to the cars, and he said, "Hey, just don't take us both out," or something like that. And that would have been a terrible thing, because you had Elliott, who had probably his best performance of a long time, maybe his career, but like of the season at least, leading all those laps. But then you had Bowman sitting back there who needs a win. So those two Gibbs cars get together, clean each other out, then Hendrick's going to win another race. So I like it when teammates can race each other hard, know the lines, not cross them, and put on a good show.
Yeah, and it's been kind of refreshing to see those guys, the Bell and Briscoe, have those races at the front where, I mean, you heard them talk about before, like under the red flag, they were like, whoever gets the lead on this restart is going to win the race. And that definitely upped the urgency, but it didn't lead to them just flat out putting their teammate in the wall. And as much as they know it's going to be difficult to pass and they're not going to be able to win if they don't get the lead to the jump on the restart, it's been nice to see them still want to keep that clean.
I will say too, I think that because I had to ask Briscoe, in that clip, you heard it, like, was your car really that fast, or was it just a good luck of the draw with the metrics? Because since qualifying got rained out, so I don't know really who had, like Denny said, his car wasn't the fastest on Sunday, so I don't know who had speed. You could argue Bubba Wallace. They put him in 22nd. He finished 6th. So there were some guys who were able to move through the field and get good results. But yeah, I don't know. You just don't know who was truly the fastest car, because the qualifying didn't happen. And so with that metric, who's placed where when it starts, if SVG doesn't have his issue or on the first lap with his tires, or first few laps, whenever it was, he was seated 6th on the start. Does SVG get a top 10 yesterday, or at least some stage points, So I don't know who was the fastest, because we didn't get to see on qualifying.
Yeah. Although all those Gibbs and Hendrick cars basically dominated the whole race once it got strung out. It was like at one point it was like all 4 of it, or all 8 of them were the top 8 cars.
Yeah. Penske, I guess Penske probably would have benefited from practice and qualifying, because we didn't see Ryan Blaney much either, and he's usually the one guy that's going to be in the top 5 to 10, consistently week in and week out from that stable. And he wasn't there. So yeah, I think Penske would have really, really liked some practice and qualifying. But yeah, Gibbs, Hendrick, they were the dominant teams.
It's going to be a drag race all the way back to the start-finish line. No caution. They're side by side, right to the line. Big crash. Here they come. Checkered flag.
The checkered flag is out, and it's time for the final thoughts.
Well, let's get to our final topics of the day. Trenton, what's on your mind? What's something that's stood out to you this week that you want to talk about, that you want to mention, or maybe rant about it? Is there anything that you've seen that you're like, oh, let me get a mention in real quick before we get off of here?
Well, we've had the fun social media browsing as one does over the last day or so, where some people in the industry have singled out a driver. It's not Mark Martin, although people thought it was. Probably clues is Denny Hamlin, but the whole conversation has been around the championship and them loving the playoffs, and drivers talking out against the playoffs. Who can talk about championships if they haven't won one? All this stuff, making it seem like it's a it's a fairy world of, oh, we love the playoffs. This is great, and no one, and a lot of people don't like it. I think we don't ever go back to full season points, but I think some sort of elimination system is going to stay. And it does create drama. So I'm not necessarily knocking it, but I was thinking today, if we did go back to a full season points, here's how I would do it. I have two scenarios, one for a playoff scenario, one for full season. My full season scenario is keep the stages. Please keep the stages. You win stages, you win a stage, you get stage points, just like normal, 10 through 1. You win a race, I think what the official number of entries for a race is 36. So like the winner gets 36, second gets 35 points, and just go down the line like that. So you can get 50-something points if you win 2 stages and get the win. Because if you use that format, what we're seeing is if you go to the full season points, like under the old system, it's a close race. Even in full season points, it's a pretty dang close race. And it has been for quite a few years. And that's why people are wanting that format back, because granted, people are racing differently, but that's what people are saying. So that's how I would do it. And I've posed this on Happy Hour. My playoff scenario would be a fluid playoff system where if you win a race, you're in the top 16. But say you're like an SVG, you win a road course, but then like you go 2 months without a road course and you're finishing 25th through 30th on an ovals, you'll get knocked down out of that top 16 where you are in points. And then if you win again, oh, look, you're back up here. If you start performing bad, you fall out. So it would be more so a fluid playoff system where a win and an in isn't guaranteed, but a win will give you an advantage and just knock you into there, but you can fall out if your performance is bad. So that would really prevent guys who are like 30th in points winning a race and then their performance the rest of the year is bad and then they fall out. So those are my 2 systems. If we go full points, keep stages, have the points be the car number, total car number of the field, given the first on down, and then fluid for playoffs.
See, I like this. It's like a weekly thing now where this debate comes up and people kind of argue, debate the point system, the points format and everything. I could give like I could probably write like a whole thesis or dissertation on why I actually enjoy the playoffs, but my little Cliff Notes version is like, I do enjoy the playoffs. I think they were better before the Gen 7. Like they would have been epic in like NASCAR's peak in like 2004 with the Gen 4 car and with all those fans and everything. Playoffs would have been epic. But I think the parity of this car is what's kind of caused that like closure to come together in the point standings and everything. Mm-hmm. And so like I do think the parity of the Gen 7 would benefit a full season points. I just the thing with me is like I don't the thought of like constantly changing the championship format is kind of, I'm like, man, I don't know how I feel about that. But ultimately, like I said, I can't sit here and give all my reasons because I could talk for like hours on the format. The thing I wanted to talk about and hit on this week was, I guess, IndyCar and Iowa Speedway. They've had some epic collaborations in the past with Hy-Vee, and it was like it almost seemed like a bucket list event on the schedule. It was a huge party, but this past weekend while they were out at Iowa, I guess it was 2 weeks ago. The fan turnout wasn't. Yeah, they were in Ontario the last weekend, but the fan turnout there wasn't the best. And this past week, it's kind of some of the rumors through the grapevine is that IndyCar is talking about trying to drop Iowa from the schedule, and I just wanted to say I think that's a shame because Iowa was kind of the OG for at least like NASCAR wasn't really racing there. IndyCar was, and they had the big show, the big party. I don't know if NASCAR going to Iowa has kind of stolen the thunder or if IndyCar is just looking for other directions, but I was kind of disappointed to see that this weekend. I mean, the attendance itself was also an issue a couple weekends ago, but I don't know if that could have been fixed by just having one race there instead of trying to do a double header. But altogether, I've seen those kind of talks and little bit disappointed to say the least because I thought IndyCar and Iowa, really anytime IndyCar goes to a state that starts with an I feel like it's great. But we're racing in the Midwest for IndyCar has been great the last few years, and kind of sucks to see that.
Yeah, it's always bad, when a track leaves. I saw a whole list of the tracks IndyCar used to go to that are no longer there, and it's long. But I guess I'm more of, when it comes to the tracks, I think I'm more of a modernist when it comes to that, because I feel like the racing should go to where the most people are, in a way. So I love the street courses. I love the city races, that kind of thing. And so, I don't know. I think something like IndyCar, if you're trying to, with the Fox partnership, if you're trying to promote the drivers, they did a really good job marketing the drivers before the season started, introducing them and all that, running those commercials. If they want to do that, they have to go to places that people will want to go to, if that makes sense. I don't know, just like in IndyCar, Iowa just doesn't seem like it clicks with the people that live there, if that makes sense. They seem like that'd be more of a NASCAR crowd or something else. But if you go to, like, I don't know, maybe like Seattle or Boston, just some random, place like that, you can see IndyCar doing something, having success. I think NASCAR can thrive in rural areas because that's kind of like where the roots are with it. But I think IndyCar needs more of that modern type of American F1 type feel to it, where it's not like up there, like all fancy, pinky out glass wine type thing. But I think it needs to be more where, I guess, industrialized locations are. If that makes sense. I think that could be the crowd for it. I think IndyCar could really do something if they market it right to the right kinds of people who would be interested in it. Because you have American fans who love Formula One. They can only go to a couple of races a year if they can even afford it. You have a circus going across the country of those similar types of cars with drivers who've competed in Formula One at some times, but with their own superstars as well, that you can go see for way cheaper. Mm-hmm. So why are you not going there to those people? That's what I'm trying to say. Long way to say, take IndyCar to where people want IndyCar to be. The fans are. So,
yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me this week, Trenton. Our next podcast here on the Front Stretch Podcast Network will be Through the Gears with Wyatt Watson, so you can tune in and get some betting tips and advice for this weekend's events at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And then I'll be back on Stock Car Scoop following the race on Sunday as well. Hoping, I better knock on some wood, hoping no rain here this weekend. Thank you for adding the extra knock. I'm trying to get out on time. Last week it was like 5:30. I was like, man, we're making great time this week. And then the rain came and it's like, dang it, got to sit around and wait for another hour and a half. So, but yeah, as for today, thanks for listening to Bring in the Heat.